Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 336 once again for episode 163 of the 815 Exchange. And well. Another very, very, very big week in sports. I feel like that's just going to be, part of the course with football being back. Week 2, of course, to the NFL and everything that happened there. And, of course, we're going to talk about them Dallas Cowboys. And, of course, what's this, week 4 now? Week 4 of college football? Yeah. Or is it week 0, week 1, week 2, week 3? Anyways, the past week in college football. So we're going to be talking about that and everything that happened. We've got some, frauds. We got fraud watch going on for some top teams and some teams that are surprising. So plenty to talk about there. And then we had UFC Noche or UFC Mexico. So, we'll talk about that. And, of course, everything that happened in the Roundup. Big stuff with F1 and, just kind of everything going on, NASCAR playoffs. So, yes, a nice, large, potentially long episode once again for you guys to enjoy. As always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. And as always, there are everything you're looking for can be found in the description. So timestamps could be embedded in the video, are also located in the description along with all my social media links if you want to follow me and my life there. I was back in Charlotte this weekend. It was glorious. I felt like myself again. Had a grand time. Paid for my sins and my indulgence yesterday. But besides that, we had a really, really good time. It was good to be back. It was good for Ocho to return back to the 704, which we will be back soon enough, full time. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to business. Let's get to business. College football. Let's get to business, ladies and gentlemen, because you know what? We're not even gonna start off with Colorado. All right, we're gonna count down to Colorado because they had the 10 o'clock game. So I'm sorry if you came to hear me talk about Coach Prime and Jay Norvell. Listen, it's coming, or you can skip to the end of the segment or whenever you see the Colorado photo pop up over here in my top right. But we gonna build up to it, all right? Because we still got plenty to talk about. Don't get it messed up. Like Florida State, we have sang their praise, especially after they beat the brakes off of LSU. Beat the brakes off of LSU. We were singing Florida State's praises, hailing them. The new Kings, or the old Kings, are now back as the new Kings of the ACC, as Clemson is now unranked. Not that they lost this week, but are now unranked. Florida State is the top team, right? We're singing their praises. Boston College, by the way, we were doing basically the exact opposite. BC was finished. If there was relegation, then BC needs to be relegated. Everybody has been talking crazy about Boston College. However, it was Red Bandana Day. And if you know anything about Boston College, or for those that are uninformed, Red Bandana, it's a different time. BC, if they don't show up for any game, they will show up for Red Bandana game. And the Red Bandana game, unfortunately, was against Florida State, and boy, did they show up. Boy, did they show up and gave Florida State a scare. They survived. JT wasn't his most efficient. He finished with 252 touchdowns. It wasn't Jordan Travis's best game. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. He's still, of course, one of the best quarterbacks in America, but was not his finest game. Did enough to get him over the hump, but still, only 252 touchdowns. Nothing crazy. I like that Florida State utilized Jaheim Bell much better than they had in the previous 2 weeks. Did a much better job. 5 receptions, 76 yards, and a touchdown for Jaheim Bell, the South Carolina transfer. This was his NFL tape. I told my dad this when I was watching it on Saturday. I was like, this is his NFL tape. This is the best they've used him. If they want to be a top team moving forward, of course, we know you got Keon Coleman, who's fantastic, even though he was held very much so in check by that Boston College defense and secondary in this game. We know you got Johnny Wilson, who had 4 receptions, 105 in his own right in this game. But adding Bell to that equation, just that puts that Florida State offense over the top. And when you can get Travis going the way that we know Jordan Travis can play, that makes them a very, very, very dangerous team. Also have to give a shout out to Kalen DeLoach. She had 5 tackles, 1 sack, 2 TFLs. But what kept Boston College and what sparked the rally at the end of this game that had BC nearly on the verge of winning this game, not even sending it to overtime, to winning this game, by the way, was Thomas Castellanos. We've been searching for BC to have a quarterback. I feel like Boston College has been searching for a quarterback since Matt Ryan, a good one at least. Thomas Castellanos was that guy. I don't know why he wasn't starting before then or what it was, but he was that guy. 400 yards total in this game. I think 95 of those were rushing, 305 through the air. 2 touchdowns. He had 1 pick, but he was a much better choice. This is a really good Florida State defense, and Castellanos handled it very, very expertly. He was giving problems. He was giving problems to FSU, an FSU defense who was going to give a lot of teams problems. Castellanos was really surging and kind of elevating that Boston College team, which is what they need at quarterback, honestly. So, yeah, credit where credit's due. Again, a late rally by BC, but unfortunately it was not enough. Florida State does hold on, and they survive. They survive Boston College. Speaking of that LSU team that they beat earlier in the season, they made a statement. A statement against Mississippi State. A statement. I mean, go Tigers. Jaden Daniels. Woo! 30 for 34. I mean, it's natural with, like we've talked about throughout this year, and we will be talking about throughout this season in college football, all of the great quarterback talent. There's going to be somebody that has that game, right? That game that you're like, okay, that's the NFL tape game. We talking about NFL. This is the NFL tape game, right? This was one of those for Jaden Daniels. 30 for 34, 425, 361 yards passing. He also had 4 touchdowns, 2 in the air, 2 on the ground. He was dynamite, okay? He was absolute dynamite. But it wasn't just JD, even though he was fantastic as those stats I just read out to you, which honestly don't even tell you how dominant he was. There may have been one player on LSU that was more dominant than Jaden Daniels in this game. Mississippi State had no idea what to do with Malik Neighbors. Had no idea. I mean, torched. He torched the Mississippi State secondary. It was like he was playing a bunch of high schoolers and he was like an elite college level player. It was a no contest. 13 receptions, 239, 2 touchdowns. I think he had over half of that at halftime. Destroyed. Destroyed that secondary. They could do nothing with Neighbors all game long. This was his NFL tape. But yeah, JD and Neighbors basically put him to bed. Harold Perkins finally looked like Harold Perkins again. He had a really good game as well. Mississippi State has been a much more balanced attack. You know, we're not going to see Will Rogers put up 4,000 passing yards again this season probably. It's been a much more balanced attack for them without, rest in peace to Mike Leach. But I don't think it's been necessarily more effective, the balance. Because in some ways, the skewing to that passing game, at least that gave them almost like a puncher's chance. Like it's a great fighter with power, right? That gave Mississippi State a puncher's chance. Without that, they're just kind of bland. They don't really have it going. They haven't caught that rhythm. And LSU rolls. I mean, and boy, did they roll. Mizzou, the upset of the week probably. Mizzou takes out Kansas State in thrilling fashion. This was one of the best games of the week. I was ready to call it game of the week if we didn't have to talk about Colorado and Colorado State. This would have been game of the week. And if you're in the state of Missouri, it absolutely was game of the week. Oh my goodness. Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker. The thicker kicker. As SZA said, we need a big boy. Here's the biggest of the boys. At least when it comes to kicking. And boy, oh boy, Mevis. He won't have to do anything this week in Missouri. I mean, he probably had a great weekend. A great weekend. Didn't have to pay for a drink. Women lined up outside of his room. I mean, it was probably immaculate for him because he had a 61-yarder to walk it off and upset Kansas State at home. Mizzou, went shot for shot. Went shot for shot, tag for tag, touchdown for touchdown with K-State, and then Mevis with a gorgeous 61-yarder, straight cash. I mean, that was an NFL kick. That was a get-you-drafted kick. I mean, Mevis, long considered, especially in his first 2 years, one of the best kickers in the country. A little bit of an off year last year. Of course, some of that is because of, his talent and the distance that they, have him kick from sometimes. But, yeah, it looks like he might be back with a vengeance. He did miss one field goal in this game, but my goodness, Mevis, 61-yarder, walks it off. Brady Cook also give a shout-out to. We had 356 and 3 touchdowns. A lot of people question why Luther Burden, former number 1 overall receiver in the country coming out of high school, why he went to Missouri, why didn't he go to, OSU or Oklahoma or USC or, whoever, Alabama, Georgia, one of those top programs. Came to Mizzou to be the guy, stayed home, and while it paid off in this game, he was dynamite. 7 receptions, 114 and for 2 touchdowns. Luther looks like he is just fine. Will Howard had 270 and 3 touchdowns. He did have a pick, though. Ben Sinat had a great performance, the tight end for K-State. He had 5 receptions, 78 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Daniel Green had 9 tackles, 1 sack, and 2.5 TFLs. But it just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for the Wildcats, and Mizzou gets the storm the field because the thicker kicker gets it done. Let's talk about the SEC. It was not good. It was a rough week. Georgia survived. Okay, they got the win versus South Carolina at home. It feels very weird to say somebody survived at home, but honestly, that's what it felt like. This was not a great game. But a win is a win. 24-14, they get the win. Carson Beck, of the 3 quarterbacks, right, of, I guess, McCord, whoever's starting at Alabama, we'll get to that literally in the next thing I talk about. And Beck, I suppose maybe him and McCord are like tied. I don't think Beck is going to win you any games, but he might not lose. He's solid right now. It's a to be determined. He didn't really impress in a game which he could have really impressed. He didn't really spark too much interest. All right, that Georgia offense was not great. Not that you have to have you gotta have some type of firepower, especially in modern college football, to win. You can have a great defense, which they do have. Georgia, once again, typical Georgia, has a great defense. Kamari Lassiter was phenomenal in this game. Looked like one of the best, not just safeties, one of the best players he looked like in the country in this game. 4 tackles, 2.5, I believe that's sacks. It could be TFLs. Might be TFLs, actually. And he had 2 pass deflections. Malachi Starks had 3 pass deflections. Georgia's defense, once again, is great. Okay? Spencer Rattler, who the stat line honestly makes him look worse than he was. He showed off the talent. Again, he's an enigma. All right? Rattler is such an enigma. He shows those moments of brilliance that makes you, okay, this is why he was that top quarterback coming out. Why a lot of people had him tagged after his, freshman year at Oklahoma. Man, this might be one of those guys. He showed off that talent, but he also 2 picks, not all of which were his fault, and a near 50% completion percentage is not too thrilling. So flashes, but also come on, he made some decisions that I like. Yeah, this is why Spence will never be that guy. But once again, Georgia was down at the half. Okay, they were down at the half going in this game. I don't know what Kirby said at halftime, but it worked. Dejon Edwards was the catalyst offensively, 118 and a touchdown. He was the reason why they won this game, or a very, very big reason if you don't want to give him soul, of course, to that defense. But offensively, he was the reason why they won this game. Georgia just really did not look that impressive. To be completely honest with you, a win is a win, but I know it was raining, but this was not an impressive win. And honestly, for a little bit, made me question, maybe Georgia's a little bit more susceptible than they've been in past years. We will see what happens. You know who is more susceptible than they have been in past years, and it's not really up for debate? That's Alabama. Okay, they barely scraped by South Florida, 17-3. Jalen Milroe benched for this game. In favor of Notre Dame transfer Tyler Buckner. I don't know what happened to these quarterbacks and why they have seemingly died out upon arriving in Tuscaloosa. But, it just is not working at all. They played 2 quarterbacks in this game. Buckner started, and they played Ty Simpson, the former 5-star freshman, right? Simpson was the most effective in this game, if you want to call it that. He went 5 for 9 in an absolutely show-stopping 73 yards. Tyler Buckner was one of just god-awful. We can be blunt. He went 5 for 14. I'll repeat. 5 for 14. 34 yards passing. That's 9 incompletions and a mere 34 yards passing. That's disgusting, okay? Absolutely disgusting quarterback play. Honestly, do this like you did the old Alabama teams. Roydell Williams looked good. Again, they were playing USF, so I can't really say that Roydell Williams, but he looked good in this game. Just give him the ball, all right? He had 129 and a touchdown, all right? He was the only thing that had a pulse offensively for Alabama. Their offensive line, honestly, with all the 5 stars, Caden Proctor, will probably be a very, very good tackle in the future, but he is not that guy yet. And the rest of that offensive line, again, leaves a lot to be desired. It was not impressive. Just not an impressive. Defensively, they won this game. okay? Which you better against USF. And they needed to get their ends back, let's be honest, after losing to Texas. Dallas Turner looked like Dallas Turner in this game. He had 7 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and TFLs, which is basically the same thing in this case. Chris Braswell's, again, 7 tackles, 1 sack, 3 TFLs. However, for USF, Daquan Evans, I have to give a shout out. He went ridiculous. As a DB, by the way, these stats are 8 tackles, 3 sacks as a DB, 4 TFLs. It's comedic. Honestly, it's comedic. Bama does not look good. They're out of the top 10 for the first time since 2015, I believe. It was or 2017. Humiliated. It's a little bit. It's very concerning. It's very concerning. It's very concerning. I mean, there's talent at least on that defensive side of the ball that might help them win some games. But boy, oh boy, it could get ugly. It could get ugly because they have nothing figured out on this offense. Absolutely nothing. You mean you got Jermaine Burton and Roydell Williams right now, but you got nobody get the ball to your receivers. I mean, honestly, you might need to just run the option with Milroe and just try to run people out of the game. Because I don't know what fixes Bama right now. Of course, Saban gets paid to do this, and he's one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever. So maybe the GOAT figures it out. But I said Bama didn't have the horses, and I asked for my flowers. And once again, another week where Bama just looks very, very concerning. We'll see what happens, though. Back to the great quarterback play and not the garbage quarterback play. Michael Penix once again continues his bid towards the first round of the draft and towards the Heisman. Washington beats the piss out of Michigan State 41-7. All right, this was a mutilating. Penix goes 473 and 4 touchdowns, which it seems like he averages. Rome Odunze is shooting up draft boards as we speak. 8 receptions, 180 for him in this game. Jalen Polk at 5 receptions, 118 and a touchdown. Jack Westover, 4 receptions, 37 yards, and a hat trick. Washington, brutalized Michigan State. Mel Tucker, actually, he's on suspension right now because which again is completely idiotic. How do you potentially, I won't, innocent until proven guilty, but still, how do you potentially sexually harass one of the most famed, well-known advocates against sexual assault and sexual harassment in college sports, that you hired for that purpose of making sure that's not in your program? How do you do that? How do you do that? Idiotic and despicable. But yeah, Michigan State gets stumped out. They are heading in a god-awful direction. Washington and Penix are, again, they're a problem. Okay, the Pac-12 is a problem, but they are specifically a problem. Get used to it. We're going to be talking about them a lot, even as a USC fan. They're real, okay? They are real. Florida and Tennessee. Listen, they have not, in my lifetime, I am 22 years of age, if nobody knows. I have not in my lifetime, and even for people older than me, have not in their own lifetimes, I think up to, even into the 90s seen Tennessee beat Florida at the Swamp. And it's still not going to happen because Florida won 29-16. Trevor Etienne went off. 172 and a touchdown for Etienne. He looked like his brother. He was the truth. Graham Mertz was the ideal game manager in this game. He goes 19 for 24, 166 and 2 touchdowns. Milton goes 20 for 34, 287, 2 touchdowns and a pick. I'm not going to put this game on him, but he's not Hendon. Milton is very talented. Of course, we know he's got that rocket laser cannon of an arm, but he's not Hendon. Let's just be honest. He's not Hendon, and I don't know if he's going to be Hendon, and Tennessee's going to have to adjust. All right, Brew McCoy, shout out to him as well, former USC receiver. Bounced around a little bit. He had 5 receptions, 94 yards, and a touchdown in this game. But listen, the most intriguing part of this game was the fight after. And 54 from Florida, that was absolutely crazy. But Florida continues, again, at the Swamp. Tennessee, I don't know what it is. Just, certain things can't happen, and Tennessee cannot beat Florida at the Swamp, and once again, it doesn't happen. Now, let's talk about what you've, sat through this entire segment for, or you skipped ahead to it. Coach Prime, of course, they had everybody and their mothers. Listen, they have more black people in Boulder, Colorado than they do at the old Source Awards, okay, back in the 80s and 90s, okay? There was more brothers and sisters in Boulder, Colorado for this game than at the BET Awards some years. We had every famous black person in America at this game. All right, we had Lil Wayne. We had The Rock. We had, it was Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi doesn't show up to Clippers games. He was at this game on the field. I was in disbelief. Of course, this game was college game day. The hype was at it because Jay Norvell came out the side of his mouth talking about how, he was raised compared to how Deion was raised. So even Deion's moms showed up pregame for this game. Of course, Colorado took that as a slight. Deion, if you somehow see this, please send me some of those shades. Those look kind of dope. I know you spent a lot of it. So, I'd be much appreciated. Much appreciated. I know y'all made a very, very large profit off that. Shout out to Pat McAfee as well for getting on that. But, Colorado State. Game comes. Of course, we had the pregame antics. Teams almost fighting. There was a lot of beef this week. All right, same thing happened in the game before. Florida, Tennessee pregame. Pregame antics. Of course, it became personal, as Colorado said, as the Sanders family said. But in the end, Colorado gets the win, 43-35 in double overtimes. And what was game of the week? Colorado seems like the game of the week every week. Unfortunately, despite the win, they took a very big loss because Travis Hunter is out for a couple weeks, it appears, after he got cheap shotted. A pure cheap shot that didn't get penalized, by the way, by Henry Blackburn, who also had a pick in this game. But he's not going to be known for the pick. He's going to be known for being a prick, simply put. Blackburn with one of the dirtiest hits you'll see. That was simply put, this is the best player arguably in this team besides maybe the quarterback. I'm taking him out of this game, and that's what happened. Okay, that's what happened. And unfortunately, Colorado right ahead, right before they get Oregon, and it really kicks off. And then they get USC the next week, are going to be without their co-best player. And a guy that makes a massive difference on this team in Travis Hunter. So yeah, college football gets robbed by Henry Blackburn. So much appreciated that. But you know what? I got to give credit to the other superstar on this Colorado team, and that is Shedeur Sanders. And like I said, the past 2 weeks that we've talked about Colorado, if you didn't know, now you know. Now you know about Shedeur Sanders. He is the truth. I said this last week. I said Colorado was the truth. But now I'm going to talk about Shedeur, because Shedeur is the truth. 38 for 47, 348, 4 touchdowns. He did have a pick. But you know what the biggest calling card of all this was? Was the way that he closed this game, by the way. Colorado was down. They were in danger of losing this game. I don't think anybody expected Colorado. I even said on this, I said Colorado was going to slaughter Colorado State. Colorado State hung in there and was going punch for punch with Colorado. Living up to the college game day label, right? They were losing this game. Couple minutes to go. Losing. Double digits. And he's going to call it, he's going to say he went Brady mode, which is a good way to say it. Shedeur, who was mentored by Tom Brady, for those that don't know, said he went basically Brady mode in those last couple minutes in an overtime. I'm going to say he went Ultra Instinct. All right, we had Ultra Instinct Shedeur because he closed this game immaculately. He closed this game like an elite quarterback is supposed to. He was flawless. Absolutely flawless the way he came back and led them 98 yards down the field. Ties the game up. By the way, that touchdown was on Mr. Henry Blackburn, who got the cheap shot on Hunter earlier in the game. And then does it again in overtime. And then again in overtime. This is what an elite quarterback looks like. This is what you want the leader of your team, the leader of your program to do. In big moments, with the lights bright, with all the talk, and with even him talking and backing it, he backed it up. On Saturday night, Shedeur Sanders backed up all the hype. He went Ultra Instinct in that fourth and overtime. So credit where credit's due. Xavier Weaver, he had 98 and 1 touchdown. Michael Harrison, by the way, was absolutely phenomenal in this game. He was, stepped up big time. Stepped up big time for Colorado. 7 receptions, 76 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Shiloh had a pick 6 that really kicked this game off. So no Shiloh slander. No Shiloh slander this week. No Shiloh slanders this week. For Colorado State, BFN, quarterback, 30 for 47, 367, 3 touchdowns. He also had 3 picks, though, which, it's going to be hard to win a game, especially a close game when your quarterback throws 3 interceptions. That usually does not go. The ball is probably not going to fall in your favor, but I have to give credit to that Colorado State wide receiver core. Of course, without Hunter, that secondary is even weaker for Colorado. And they took advantage. All right, Torrey Horton had 16 receptions, 133 and a touchdown. Lewis Brown the fourth, I believe that is, 10 receptions, 131 and a touchdown. And Dalen Hawker had 6 receptions, 109 and 2 touchdowns. They went 3-1. All right, they almost went 4-1 like Colorado did week 1 versus TCU. But Colorado State instead only goes 3-1, but still a hell of a performance. All right, nobody gave Colorado State a chance in this game, and they stood in there, went toe-to-toe with the biggest team, the most popular, the team of the hour currently in college football. They went toe-to-toe in a game they weren't supposed to be in, and you know what? Credit where credit's due, but you know what? Put them up. Colorado, Boulder. They're on fire right now. Of course, they got Oregon, and this probably is going to come crashing down next week against Bo Nix and co. But we will see. Maybe the magic continues. We will find out. And to end the segment, the Big 12 had the worst week. Okay, we said that it was the SEC. Was it the SEC last week or week 1 that just had like a god-awful week? The Big 12, it was this week. Yeah, it was just bad. Okay, besides who we've talked about from the Big 12 that lost, okay, we had Ohio beat Iowa State 10-7. And then we had Cincinnati, for the first time since I was a fetus, a toddler, lose to Miami, Ohio. It was just not a good week for the Big 12, okay? A week they will want to forget very, very soon. But that was college football, of course. We'll have plenty to talk about. Listen, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Football is back. Let's talk about the UFC. All right, we had Noche UFC. UFC in Mexico. Of course, it was headlined by the flyweight rematch. Alexia Grasso looks to defend her crown atop, I think, of the women's pound-for-pound rankings as well, against the former flyweight champion. The former, we nearly called her unbeatable, besides Amanda Nunes, Valentina Shevchenko. And honestly, Val blew this in a little bit, okay? She crapped the bed in the 5th round, and we end up with a draw, which means we will be seeing a third fight between Alexia Grasso and Val. But honestly, I ain't complaining, all right? It was a good scrap. It was a good scrap, don't get me wrong. Val could have won this. But once again, I think one thing I've learned, especially in the past 2 years, I think we've all learned in the past 2 years of UFC and MMA, it's all about optics. A lot of this, especially when it comes to the judges, is optics. Right? Body language, who lands. Sometimes it's not who lands the most, who lands the biggest shots. Right? Who has those big moments. Because those big moments will steal rounds. And they will change. You can have control, but who has those big moments? That often is what determines a fight. Especially recently, I've learned. Especially when it comes to these decisions. And Grasso had the big moments. That almost choking Val out again in round 5, and the way she came on after what was a close fight pretty much all the way through. I think that's what really kind of ended this, caused this to draw. I think if Val closes that 5th round, she wins that 5th round, she regains her championship, but she could not do that. Grasso came and proved that, hey, I belong. That was no fluke. This is not a Juliana Pena situation. That was not a fluke. This was not on a whim. So credit where credit's due to Grasso. Of course, we'll see the trilogy, and hopefully I'll be able to see it live. Of course, I was out being a degenerate on Saturday, so I did have to just catch the replay of the fight. But Grasso, she draws Chev. We'll see a 3rd edition. We'll see what happens then. JDM Della Madonna gets a split decision versus Kevin Holland. I think Kevin Holland, who did he call out after this fight? Was it Neil Magny that he called out after this fight? They want to scrap. Again, Holland, of course, he's super. This was a very close fight, as the split decision would tell you. I don't have a problem with JDM winning. I don't. Holland, he's super active. He takes losses, I think, about as well as anybody in the sport. So I don't think it's going to be really too big. But credits where credit's due to JDM. Still a solid scrap. And to end up the rest of this card, of course, because it wasn't actually like a major card. I rarely do like these fight, even though this one really, it's like a special card, but it was like a, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it wasn't like a number card. So to end this off, Rosas the teenager, I think now 18. I think Rosas is 18 now, or is he 19? He got the KO on Terrence Mitchell. Listen, Terrence Mitchell is not a particularly good fighter, but he is an exciting fighter because he is going to put himself in harm's danger at all cost of a potential highlight, and Rosas put him on his highlight reel. Credit to the kid. It was a nice bounce back win. Once again, he still needs to be tested. We'll see how he grows, but again, he's super, super duper young. Tracy Cortez returns, and she got a UD over Jazz Davikas, who, again, was I am not a big fan of Jazz Davikas. I was a very dirty... She fought very dirty, in my opinion. It was kind of cheap. It was kind of cheap, so I was glad to see Tracy. Besides her aesthetic purposes, she's also a good fighter, a very, very good fighter. And she got the UD, well-deserved. Good to see her back. And, after everything she's gone through, the breakup with Ortega, just kind of injuries, just good to see her back, and she gets the win on home soil. And, yeah, UFC Noche, probably the end of the combat sports for a little bit. Of course, what's the next big thing in boxing? Is that the KSI Tommy Dylan Logan fight? We'll talk about that when that comes. But yeah, that was UFC. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached entertainment. And I come to you today on the entertainment segment, which isn't that very long, with some sad news. Winning Time, unfortunately, has been canceled. But we will talk about what ended up being the series finale. Unless y'all want to save it, which I am here for. It was trending, like number 4. HBO. We can't go out like this, okay? The show was so good. Alright? So good. There are shows that get lower viewership that y'all keep. So I don't want to hear it. But Winning Time. Alright, we ended with the 1984. It was another great episode. It was a great episode that set up the future of the show, but unfortunately it ended up being the series finale. Because they had to half-heartedly throw in, a very, as you could tell, last second kind of edit of here's what happened after, the Celtics beat the Lakers, spoiler alert, in the 1984 finals. But yeah, it was cool to see all the dynamics we'd seen from the season just kind of wrap up here. I think it was a great narrative. It was a great way to end the season to set, like I said, everything up with, Dr. Buss and Jeannie kind of coming together and him kind of making Jeannie saying, hey, you could be the hair. Of course, we know Jeannie does, in fact, take over. Setting up the Lakers to get revenge and positioning them, the Celtics, once again, as, the villains, but also as, like, a major threat, and kind of seeing where Larry and Magic's rivalry could go. It was a great setup episode, and we were right about to get MJ and Akeem, and now it's done. It just sucks. I mean, you can still watch it, of course. It's not, like, wiped off of Max, so I would highly advise. Go watch it. Really good series. Comedic, take, of course, not completely accurate. I know some Lakers, officials that, of course, because this is based off real people, weren't too happy with their depictions. Jerry West. But it still was such a good show, and, yeah, I hate that it got canceled. But Winning Time, at least for one last time, on the If It's an Exchange. Another great episode. Hate the way it ended, though. Hate the way it ended. Alright. For All the Dogs got pushed back. Again, I guess it's because, once again, he only drops when I'm back. When I'm back in the 704. Unless the Prince is back in the Queen City, unless Ocho's back in Charlotte, he can't drop. So, of course, I was back this weekend, so he drops the single with SZA, Slime Me Out, which we're about to talk about. But I wasn't going to be back next week, so he was like, what, I can't drop yet. I'm sorry, guys. I know I was supposed to drop at the day of the Charlotte concert, which, by the way, I still don't have tickets for. If you want to, send me tickets, feel free to. But, I can't do it. So we pushed it back to October 6th. I get it. Alright, makes sense. October's very own. Drop it in October. It's alright, okay? Slime You Out feat SZA. Of course, that had Holly Berry all up in... She was very upset with Drake. Very publicly upset with Drake. Because he used her photo. Not even as the song cover, by the way. The song cover on all the streaming outlets is the For All the Dogs cover by Adonis. He used her photo on IG as the, announcement for, hey, the song is coming out. It's her getting slimed at Nickelodeon. I don't think Drake meant that as a diss. He is very notedly a fan of Holly Berry. But for some reason, Holly, she took a big offense to that. Which, I mean, I guess, I don't really, again, I saw people also saying that Drake used Holly for clout, which is kind of crazy. Or that Holly is trying to use Drake. Neither one of it's Holly Berry and Drake. Neither one of them need each other for clout. Let's get that first off. Let's get that straightened out. Neither one of them need each other for clout. I feel like they definitely could have fixed that or sorted that out offline, which Drake may have done because Drake doesn't post about anything. He's not about the Twitter fingers, so he didn't respond publicly. He just ignored it. The photo's still up. But yeah, I think Holly could have handled that a little bit better if she wanted royalties or whatever. But honestly, I don't think it was a big deal. But the actual song was it was solid. It was solid. It wasn't nothing crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm a big Drake fan, as y'all know, but I'm not gonna ride here. It was solid. SZA did her thing. She absolutely bodied it. But yeah, it was solid. I liked it better than the leak I heard that was similarly titled. So I'll take that. I think this is definitely one of those. I miss her, and it's late. It's very dark outside. I'm going to throw this on and be in my feelings. I think this is definitely one for the pain list. But yeah, it was solid. It might grow on me, and I might, catch more of it. But yeah, it was a solid track. And of course, yeah, we'll see in what now? 3 weeks? What happens on For All the Dogs. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, week 2 in the NFL. Thursday, of course, we had the Eagles and the Vikings. Eagles won the game 34-28, despite a late charge from the Vikings, who gave an effort, all right? Kirk Cousins, much better this week. Much better this week. Last week, week 1, disaster class. This week has Jets fans asking if they can trade for Kirk Cousins, all right? So I can't put this one on him. 31 for 44. He had 364 and 4 touchdowns. You can't ask for much more from Kirk Cousins than he did in this game. All right, Jettas got fed. He didn't get a TD in this game, but he got fed. 11 receptions, 159 on 13 targets. Jay Addison had 3 receptions, 72 yards, and a touchdown. Hawkinson had 2 touchdowns, 7 receptions, 66 yards. Listen, business was handled in the passing game. The problem is the Eagles' defense did not allow them. Jordan Davis up front, Jalen Carter. All them Georgia boys said absolutely not. There was no semblance of a running game for the Vikings. If you run for 28 yards on 3.1 yards a carry, you had 9 carries total. You're not winning. I don't care that it's the 21st century and we're all past. You're not winning a game unless it's an all-time bad game with 28 rushing yards. 28 on 9 carries. Whew. And you had 4 fumbles, by the way. 4 takeaways. 4 takeaways. Jefferson is probably going to rue the day he fumbled that ball into the end zone. But unfortunately, it is what it is. Danielle Hunter, though, had a game for the Vikings. 8 tackles, 3 sacks, 3 TFLs, 3 QB hits as well. He had a game. Karen Byram had 15 tackles. D.L. Jackson had a pick. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. All right, we're going to talk about the Eagles. DeAndre Swift was the reason they won this game offensively. He was a force. The same way that the Vikings could not run the ball, the Eagles ran excellently. All right, Swift had a near career day, if not a career day, 175 and a touchdown in the game for him. Devonta Smith looks like the number 1 receiver for Jalen Hurts. He had 4 receptions, 131 and a touchdown. A.J. Brown has been garbage. I would know because he's on my fantasy team. Him and Jalen are just not connecting the same way that they did last year. But the most concerning thing actually has been Jalen Hurts to me. It has been quite concerning. He had 3 touchdowns this game. 2 of them rushing. Of course, the big push thing with the sneaks that a lot of people are up in arms about, which I have no problem with. I think it's fine. But the big problem is I don't know how well the Eagles, again, it's very early in the season. It's only been 2 weeks. But that passing game, again, they got a new offense coordinator. It does not look the same. It does not look anywhere close to the caliber it was last year, which made him an MVP candidate. They look very pedestrian through the air. And they ran the ball great against the Vikings. But DeAndre Swift is a good running back. He is not, I'm running for 100 yards every game, good. They're not. He's not. It's not going to happen. So, the Eagles are going to get tested one of these weeks, and we're going to find out if they can, which sounds crazy with Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Cowboy, if they can spread the ball around, because they have struggled mightily struggled in the first 2 games this year to do that. So, we're going to see. We're going to see. Again, 2-0, you'll take it. 34-28, you get the win. That's what matters. But the Eagles don't look as sharp as they did last year. We'll see. Maybe it's just the early season. Maybe it's the adjustment period with the new OC. But they have not been all that impressive despite being 2-0. The Bills butchered the Raiders. This one was not really. This was Josh Allen exercising all those demons from last week. From the god-awful nightmare game he had against the Jets. on 9/11. Yeah, he exercised all of those demons at home versus the Raiders. He goes 31 for 37, 274, and 3 touchdowns. Destroyed him. James Cook went over 100 yards for the first time in his career. Gabe Davis, 6 receptions, 92 yards, and a tutty. But the Bills get it done. Nothing really too much to talk about there. Let's talk about some of the closer games, okay? Like the Baltimore Ravens going into Cincinnati and taking out the Bengals, 27-24. Now, the Bengals also started quite slow last year, but I am very concerned. I am concerned. The Bengals fans might need to be concerned. Burrow re-aggravated the calf injury, which once again, I just want my flowers. I thought they brought him back way too early. He was not supposed to be back yet. They said, yeah, in a couple weeks into the season, he'll be healthy and ready to go. Which I think they should have stuck to. But for whatever reason, he's been brought back. Call it hubris or whatever you want. Toughness, whatever. And he has not been the same Joe Burrow. They gave him the contract. He is not playing up to Joe Burrow standards, okay? Another pick in this game, a mere 61.5 quarterback rating. He goes 27 for 41, 222, and 2 touchdowns. But he has not been in sync. He had no preseason, so again, he's still trying to catch up. He's done with the calf. He just does not look like the same guy that we know Joe Burrow to be over the past couple years. He does not look like that guy. It's either been Chase or Higgins through the 2 weeks. Last week it was more Chase. This week it was more Higgins. He goes 8 receptions, 89 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But still didn't have that balance. Chase had a very pedestrian 31 yards on 5 touchdowns. I'm on 5. Oh my gosh, 5 touchdowns. 5 receptions. The defense wasn't too crazy. Couldn't finish off Baltimore. And Baltimore goes in there and they get the win. They go in there and get the win. Lamar, 237, 2 touchdowns. Gus Edwards had a TD. Nelson Aguilar, of all the receivers on that Ravens offense, he's the one that gets the touchdown. OBJ got injured in this game. Wishing the best. They had 178 yards total rushing. A very well done game from the Ravens. Go into Cincinnati, start off 2-0, knock off a divisional rival. Just a very impressive performance in the Bengals, man. They not looking great. All right, it's not looking great. The Jaguars got brought back. Listen, well, I think it was less the Jaguars got brought back down to earth as it was the Chiefs reminding everybody that they're the Chiefs. Listen, if they got Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, that makes a world of a difference. 2 players can make that big of a difference. 2 players. And it was a completely different team for the Chiefs. Defensively, a completely different team. Held Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars in check. Alright, Lawrence did not have a great game, to be completely honest with you. Only 216 yards passing. Christian Kirk had 11 receptions, 110, but he was really the only one that did any kind of damage. ETN only had 40 yards rushing. They held the Jaguars' offense in check. And it wasn't even because of a lot of turnovers. Even though Lawrence, he had 2 fumbles, he only lost 1. So it wasn't like that. It's just the pressure and the way that Chris Jones makes a difference. He is the anchor of that defense. He elevates. That's why he's considered one of the best. He elevates everybody else. I don't know if it's the confidence of having him there in the middle or what it is, but he elevated the rest of that defense, and they gave the Jaguars all types of issues. They still, again, the Jaguars didn't get destroyed in this game. Pat was held to 305 and 2 touchdowns. He even got picked off once. But again, having Kelce just makes a massive difference. He got a touchdown in this game. Welcome back. There was a lot of jawing back and forth from these teams, so I wouldn't be shocked if, especially with how good these 2 teams are, if this is not the last time we see them, maybe again in the playoffs. But yeah, Chiefs get it done 17-9. Welcome back, Kelce. Welcome back, Chris Jones. They made the big difference that the Chiefs needed to get the win here on the road and get their first win of the season. The Titans and the Chargers. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Nick Folk gets the game winner, actually, in overtime. After Tennessee nearly, after Dicker the kicker sent it to overtime, nearly let them back in this game. All right. This was, a very, very good game, by the way. Back and forth we went, especially in that second half. Tannehill with a 12-yard run gives Tennessee the lead. Then Chargers come back. Keenan Allen, Slayer, gives the Chargers the lead. Then the Titans get the lead back with 2 minutes, 22 seconds. And then, of course, Dicker the kicker sends it to overtime. And eventually Nick Folk, with 5 minutes to go in OT, gets the game winner from 41. But yes, a very, very much so back and forth game. But the Chargers, once again, I'm not saying, it's so weird. I don't want to put it on Staley yet. Though, if this keeps up, we might have to. I don't want to put it on him yet, but despite all the talent on this team, they just haven't been able to figure it out. Herbert wasn't bad. 305, 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen went off, 8 receptions, 111, 2 touchdowns. Kenneth Murray with a sack. Tully, fight on with a sack. They had 5 sacks. Joey Bosa had 2. Got to the quarterback well, had very good pressure on Ryan Tannehill. But for whatever reason, this Chargers team just finds ways to lose. Or just finds ways to get beaten. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're the anti-clutch or they just continue to they can't win close games. I don't know what it is. But for whatever reason, the Chargers just can't click. It just hasn't clicked. A lot of talent on that team on both sides of the ball, but it has not clicked. We'll see if it does, but they're 0-2. Titans will have to be ecstatic with the way this game wins. King Henry had 80 and a touchdown. Of course, Tannehill, like I said, had 2 touchdowns himself. And Nick Folk, of course, was clutch. He gets the game winner. And the Titans, I don't even want to say they still won because they earned it. All right, they earned it against this Los Angeles Chargers team who, once again, it's not clicking. We'll see what happens, though. The Falcons, in another Razors super close game, they get the win 25-24 after Young Hoku, with 57 seconds to go, gives them the lead and the win. He had 2 big field goals to kind of close the show. The Packers were up 24-12 going into the fourth quarter of this game and choked. For all the love I've given Jordan Love, who went 14 for 25, 151 and 3 touchdowns. Another solid game for Jordan Love. Can't really fault him, but you gotta close the game. We said it 2 weeks ago. You have to put teams away. And the Packers and young Jordan Love did not put the Falcons away. When they were given opportunity to put the Falcons away, they could not do so, and they paid the piper. The Falcons, who I have to give a shout out to. After Jaden Reed, I'll give the Packers their flowers, and then we're going to let the Falcons get their love, all right? Jaden Reed had 2 touchdowns, I want to say, and Quay Walker had 17 tackles. Those were my 2 major notes from this game for the Packers, besides Love going off. I want to give my flowers to the 211 rushing yards in this game from the Atlanta Falcons, because they know their identity. They know that Desmond Ridder's not going to win us games. But you know what? We can run the ball. We drafted Bijan Robinson. He's a special talent. Feed him the rock. Feed Tyler Algier the rock when necessary. And you know what? All will be well. Ridder, do what needs to be done to win. That's all we ask. And you know what? It worked. They closed the game well. Bijan, again, is electric. He had 124 yards rushing. He also had 4 receptions and 48 yards receiving. He is exactly who we thought Bijan Robinson was. Drake Yale, 6 receptions, 67 yards, and a touchdown for him. Welcome back, wide receiver 1. Kyle Pitts is still garbage, I would know, because I unfortunately had the ire of drafting him in fantasy in 2 leagues. But yes, the Falcons, the best thing I can say about them is that they found their identity. I think they should stick to it. Honestly, stick to it. They're 2-0. I don't think anybody expected the Falcons to be 2-0, but here we are. Bijan is electric. Let's keep it moving, because we're not done with the close games. The 1 o'clock was cooking, okay? Seahawks get the win 37-31 over Detroit. Kenny Walker had 2 touchdowns, only 43 yards. But this was a battle between QBs, which sounds crazy when we're talking about Geno Smith and Jared Goff, but here we are. 328 and 2 touchdowns for Geno. Goff had 323 and 3 touchdowns. We went back and forth, all right? Back and forth. ARSB was cooking for the Lions, but Tyler Lockett's the person who gets the game winner in overtime after the Lions fought back after a pick 6 to make it 31-21 with 8 minutes to go. They fight back, get it 31-28, get the ball back. Riley Patterson, 38-yarder, sends it to OT. But unfortunately, they just couldn't. Again, you got to put teams away. Seahawks didn't put the Lions away. And then the Lions had opportunities to win the game, but couldn't do so. Seahawks, they get it done. Tyler Lockett, 8 receptions, 59 yards, and of course the game winner. So credit where credit's due. Seahawks on the road in Detroit. A lot of people riding Detroit after that big week 1. And they came through and got it done. Anthony Richardson continues to be the best rookie quarterback, okay? I didn't see it coming, but here we are. Before he got concussed in this game, he had 56 yards through the air, was 6 for 10. He also had 2 touchdowns running. He put himself, by the way, in concussion protocol, which, again, good on AR, but also, Colts, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is your franchise quarterback now. You got to protect him. Even against the Texans, who you end up beating this game. All right, because Gardner Minshew came through 19 for 23, 171 in a touchdown and held it down. But you got to protect your quarterback. But AR was having a very good game. He looks like the best rookie quarterback. Zach Moss also had 88 yards and a touchdown. He will be picked up on quite a few fantasy pickups this coming week. I think they did a great job getting to C.J. Stroud. The Colts defense did. He sacked him 6 times. They're credited with 9 QB hits in this game. They did a really good job with that pass rush. Though I got to give credit to C.J. as well. He had 384 and 2 touchdowns. Didn't completely let it rattle him. The Texans have no running game currently, and I think that might be the bigger problem. Nico Collins, 7 receptions, 146 and a touchdown. Career day, Tank Dell. Find that chemistry with Stroud hit. 7 receptions, 72 yards and a touchdown. You want to lessen on some of the fumbles, but you had no running game. You had no running game at all, and no real pass rush on the Colts. The Texans are not going to be a very good team, but some good things, some bad things. You can clean up and you can be a little bit better. I mean, you're still going to be god-awful and probably a very high draft pick, but still. Texans need to clean some of that up. Stroud wasn't bad, though. Showed some improvements, but AR continues to somehow, some way, of the 3, be the best. And hopefully he's not out too long with that concussion. The Buccaneers get it done versus the Bears. Justin Fields. I don't know what the Bears are cursed. Okay, I'm convinced. I'm a believer. I'm a believer. Bears fans have said it for a very long time. I'm a believer. I think they actually might be cursed. They actually might be cursed. Okay, because I don't know why quarterbacks they just don't. It's not going. It's just not working. It's not working. It is not working. I don't want to pull the plug on Fields because he's so talented. But boy, oh boy, man. This Bears team does not look good. The Bucs, again, another team in that god-awful NFC South, or what was supposed to be a god-awful NFC South, that is impressing and finding ways to win games. Baker Mayfield, y'all disrespected him. What are y'all saying now? 317 and a touchdown for Baker. Rashad White, by the way, 73 yards and a touchdown on the ground. I believe he also got some work through the air. Let me check. Yeah, 5 receptions, 30. Mike Evans was phenomenal. 6 receptions, 171 and a touchdown for the model of consistency at the wide receiver position that Mike Evans is. And the Bucs, they get the win. They go to 2-0. The Bears do not look good at all. The Giants, the Arizona Cardinals. Listen, the tank was in jeopardy, okay? The Cardinals were up 28-7. Okay, they were up 20-0 at halftime. Everybody was saying the Giants are cooked. Daniel Jones is a fraud. And then the Cardinals remembered that, you know what? We are not supposed to win this game. We are supposed to be trying to get that number 1 overall pick and deciding what we want to do with Kyler Murray, with Caleb Williams potentially on the table. And they remembered. And they remembered who they were. They remembered. And the Giants came back and won this game, okay? From the depths of hell. Okay, they had gone 6 quarters without scoring a single point. I was picking on the Giants. Twitter was cooking the Giants. The Giants were getting mixed, okay? And they were getting mixed by the Cardinals. Josh Dobbs, no disrespect. Josh Dobbs. No disrespect. But come on now. Come on now. James Conner was cooking. 106 and a touchdown. The Cardinals look like a competent team. A competent team. But then the Giants, at some point at halftime, decided, yeah, we can't go out like this. Saquon was, listen, DJ just went off. Okay, he went off. Simply put, he went off in that second half. Finishes with, close to 400 yards total. 3 touchdowns. And yeah, I mean, he just closed excellently. When his team needed him, he was there. Jason Pinnock, by the way, 13 tackles, 3 TFLs in this game. Again, from the depths. Okay, from the depths. 28-7, this game was. Late in the third quarter, before Saquon scored. And they came all the way back. Graham Gano gets the game winner. Giants, congratulations. You've avoided mediocrity for yet another week. The 49ers take care of the Rams. Again, there's nothing really too much for me to talk about here, besides the fact that Puka Nakao is in fact that guy. 15 receptions, 147. Christian McCaffrey is still that guy. 116 and a touchdown. This was a very close game. A very, very, very close game that went back and forth. But 49ers are, again, cream of the crop. Though the Rams have not been that bad, okay? So, ease up. Puka looks like he might be that guy. Optimism to be had, but again, the 49ers are just on another plane of existence. Glory be thy name. How about them Cowboys? How about them Cowboys? I'm having fun. I'm having fun. This Cowboys team is making me feel things I haven't felt about a Cowboys team in a very, very long time. Not that we've been necessarily bad the past couple years, though last year was kind of rough. This team is making me feel things. It's making me feel things. All right, Dak Prescott looked like a franchise quarterback yesterday. He went 31 for 38. 255 and 2 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb looked perfect in the 88. He had 11 receptions, 143. The two rookie tight ends scored. Tony Pollard, even though he could have been a little bit better, if we needed somewhere to improve. He still had 72 yards. Ran well. Did good in the passing game. He was solid. Could have been better, though. They did a good job containing him. But this defense has brought tears to my eyes. With the Lord as my witness. Dan Quinn, pay the man whatever he wants. He can never leave. He is a hostage. He is a hostage in my heart. Because this Cowboys defense brought tears to my eyes. I mean, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. The defense it looks amazing. It looks amazing. I remember years when I was embarrassed. I was like, you know what, we'll score points, but oh God, the defense is secondary. But oh my God. Tears to my eyes. Micah Parsons might be one of the greatest draft picks in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. He's Kal-El. He was a mutant. He was a mutant. Okay? He did what he pleased to that just offensive line yesterday. It was one of the best performances I have seen from a defensive player. Okay? The stats don't tell the full story, even though I'll still give them to you, okay? On paper, he had 4 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 TFLs, 4 QB hits. That doesn't even tell you. Oh, by the way, he had a forced fumble, which was nearly a touchdown as well in this game. But that does not tell you the full story. He was dominant. Absolutely dominant. He was on Zach Wilson like bread on bread. White on rice. Black on this mic. He was all over him. He was chasing him like bears do honey. It was immaculate. An immaculate performance from Micah Parsons. A wondroso. A prodigal performance from the best defensive player in the world. I'm going to say it right now. No disrespect to Nick Bosa, who is also a very, very, very excellent. Okay, probably a future Hall of Famer. In a couple years, of course, we got to let him build the accolades. But I'm sure he'll get the accolades. But Micah Parsons is just a different beast. He was a different beast. He looked like not just the best defensive player in the world. He looked like the best player in the world yesterday against the Jets. It was ridiculous. It was an inhuman performance. It brought tears to my eyes. The defensive line looks so much improved. Malik Hooker had a pick. Javon Curse had a pick. Javon Diggs had a pick. Honestly, Zach Wilson, for the first part of this game, was solid. He wasn't bad, actually. Of course, he finished with 3 picks and only 170 yards and under 50 completion percentage. So it wasn't a good game for Zach Wilson. He's still Zach Wilson. But he started off solid, but it unraveled so fast. He was their leading rusher. You're not going to win a game, once again, like I said earlier. You ain't going to win a game when your leading rusher is Zach Wilson at 36 yards. They had 64 yards total, but their running backs had 9 yards, 8 yards, 7 yards, 4 yards. That's all. That's all the Cowboys defense allowed the Jets running game to do. And yeah, I mean, it was beautiful. All right. It was some of the best defense I've seen. Even though they still got, 10 points. Shout out to Garrett Wilson. He is still a dog. But of course, the Cowboys it was gorgeous. Brought a tear to my eye. Micah Parsons is the new Lord and Savior. He is the man. He is him. H-I-M. All right. Him of the week. All right. Is Micah Parsons. Just a killer. Killer. The Commanders, our dear rivals, they got the win versus Denver. Listen, Sean Payton or not, listen, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's connected. I can't even listen. Russ was, not great, even though, actually, Russ was fine, man. He had 308 and 3 touchdowns. I'm not going to put this on Russ. I'm not going to be one of those people and scapegoat him. He had an insane, by the way, this game finished absolutely insanely. They got a field goal, got the ball back, had to do a Hail Mary, which, by the way, I called that it was going to be caught before it got caught. A beautiful Hail Mary to Brandon Johnson. Unfortunately, they can't get the 2-point, which was a pass interference, if we're being honest. Broncos got hold a little bit. And unfortunately, they lose this game. This was on the defense. Okay, I can't put it on Russ. But Sam Howell, which, by the way, I think it's just a North Carolina thing. All right? Drake May has not been great, by the way, also currently for Carolina. But I don't want to, because now I'm seeing what Sam Howell looking like. Yo, he might be a legitimate, starting quarterback. And, he might be who we thought Sam Howell was. He had 299, 2 touchdowns in this game. He looked like the answer for the Commanders. So maybe it's just a Carolina thing, and the talent around those quarterbacks isn't, necessarily putting them in the best situation. So, but credit where credit's due to Howell, man. He's balled out so far. He's looked like the right decision at the quarterback position for Washington. Brian Robinson, 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 42 yards receiving. Fantasy owners around the world are crying. The same way I was crying for Micah Parsons, they have been crying for Brian Robinson, because they're thinking, man, I got this guy in the 6th round, and he has been playing like RB1. He has been very, very good. Very, very, very good for this Washington team, a big-time catalyst. And, of course, the fact that they drafted, how many first-round picks did we watch Washington spin? How many early-round picks did we watch them spin on high-end defensive end talent? So that front 7 could have games like they did against the Broncos in this game. Yes, they gave up 33 points, but they also had 7 sacks and would have Russ running for his life a lot of the time. I don't even think it's necessary that Denver has a bad offensive line, which, listen, still may end up being true, but they had 7 sacks. It was Daron Payne. It was Montez Sweat. It was Jamin Davis, Chase Young, Casey Toohill, James Smith-Williams. All of this early round talent making a major impact on that front 7 and really cooking in a big way. They had 14 quarterback hits. They hit Russ 14 times. The front 7 looked incredible. Incredible. So, yeah, credit where credit's due to Washington. Solid quarterback play and a solid running game. And then when you got a pass rush going like that, that's going to make things happen for you. Russ, once again, I can't put this on him. Marvin Mims, by the way, 2 receptions, 113, and a touchdown. He looks like he's going to be quite very, very, very good as he was at Oklahoma. Judy, first game back, he didn't really do too much. Jonathan Cooper had 2 sacks. But unfortunately, it was not enough, and Washington is able to eke out the win and get it done. Sunday Night Football was Miami and New England. Honestly, nothing too crazy to talk about. Miami got the win at New England. Tua didn't put up 300 or 400 this game. Okay, he was very, very much pedestrian. Mac Jones was also just he had a Mac Jones game, all right? That's 200 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. It's the Mac Jones, all right? It's the Mac Jones special. He had one of those, and that's not going to win you games. However, Raheem Mostert going for 121 and 2 touchdowns will win you games, especially when your defense plays the way that the Dolphins did. So, yes, credit where credit's due. Miami gets the win on Sunday Night Football. Of course, we got 2 Monday night games. But, we'll talk about Week 3 and everything else. But how about the Cowboys? With that said, ladies and gentlemen, as I take the Deer Park unofficial sponsor water break, but we're not going to pack that up because we're packing up. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Roundup. Before I get what happened in Singapore, let's talk about Bristol. All right, Denny Hamlin is a dog. All right, Denny is a dog. He's a dog. He's Denny Hamlin. All right, nothing else really needs to be said besides that. He's Denny Hamlin. Okay? So when big moments arise, wins are needed, people need to come through, talent needs to shine. As long as Denny Hamlin is Denny Hamlin, he's going to make it happen. Denny is going to make it happen. And he made it happen at Bristol. He He gets the win, moves on. He wasn't really in danger, but he still moves on. Of course, especially in playoff time, just get the win and you're in. It's the easiest way to advance. Consistency matters and it's big, but winning is the true art of the sport. All right, and Denny got it done when it mattered. So credit where credit's due. Also, shout out to Bubba Wallace. He got through as well. again, consistency matters too. And yeah, he needed a big Bristol. He got it done. A lot of people thought he was going out in round 1. That didn't happen. So like he shushed on IG. What they gonna say now? Unfortunately for Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Ricky Stenhouse, and Michael McDowell, fortunes were not in their favor at Bristol, and they were eliminated from round 1 of the NASCAR playoffs. I do also have to give a shout out to C-Bell. Christopher Bell swept qualifying all 3 rounds of that first round of the playoffs. So yeah, C-Bell looking very, very good. I think we need to, potentially put him on championship watch. And honestly, he needs more credit for being one of the best drivers in the world. Okay? Bell has, this isn't new. That was special, the qualifying sweep, but he has been a top flight driver, I think, for a little bit now, and I think he needs his flowers a little bit more, so I'm going to give C-Bell his flowers here. Good job. Good work. Let's talk F1, alright? Singapore Grand Prix. The streak is over. We're not talking about Mad Max. No, we're talking about a smooth operator. I'm not going to trauma dump you with my horrid singing. But yes, we had a smooth operator get it done. Carlos Sainz gets back-to-back poles, and he gets the win here in Singapore in one of the best races of the year. It was a British sweep of the rest of the podium. Lando got second, Lewis got third, because George Russell, the other Brit, unfortunately put his car into the wall, ran out of grip, and unfortunately, in a nightmare scenario, with literally moments left in the race, put his car in the wall. So unfortunately, he falls out of the podium, but Lando and Lewis pick up the scraps. But Ferrari, it's all cheers. Max did not make Q3 in qualifying. He only was able to get up to 5th. But you know what? He took it on the chin. He broke all the records, so yeah. Unfortunately, Red Bull will not win every race, as it seemed. If they were going to lose any race, a lot of people were saying Singapore, where the odds might not be in their favor. So, yes, everything that could go wrong went wrong for Red Bull this week, and you know what? It finally happened for Ferrari. It finally happened for Carlos. He is on fire right now. I don't think he's given enough credit as a number 2. He's a great number 2. A great number 2. And I don't mean calling him a number 2 as disrespect, because he's been right there with Charles. Honestly, you could argue he's been better than Charles this year. So yeah, credit where credit's due to Sainz. I think him and Leclerc are a great pairing. Ferrari just needs to get it going at a consistent level, like they've had the past 2 weeks. If they can do that, they can compete with Red Bull, because I like Sainz and Leclerc better as a... Of course, I think Max is the best, but I think Sainz is a better number 2 than Checo. And Leclerc is also better than Checo, so I think they have a better driver pairing. So if they can just get it going technically, they can make some things happen. So, yeah. Happy for Ferrari. Happy for the smooth operator. Shohei Ohtani, unfortunately, his season is over. Oblique. And yeah, he just called it quits. He also cleared out his locker. So that may have been the last time we see Ohtani time in Anaheim, with him donning at least an Angels jersey. So, yeah, just incredible how the Angels continue to fumble the best players on the planet, whether it's Trout or Ohtani. It is just, I don't know. They also might be cursed. Similar to how I said the Bears are cursed, the Angels might also be cursed. Footy. You know who feels cursed right now? The Manchester United. The Red Devils feel cursed. Brighton, once again, continues to be one of the stories of the Prem so far. They get the win 3-1 this week. Man United has lost 3 straight. Danny Welbeck scored in his return. Pascal Grobe continues to destroy Man United at all costs. And Man U, like I said, and Erik ten Hag have been handed 3 straight defeats in the Prem. It is not looking good. Champions League is about to be back, and it is just, they're in horrid form. They have no type of rhythm. They have no type of cohesion. It has just been a nightmare in Manchester, which is currently still blue, and I don't think that's going to change with the May that the Red Devils are playing. Spurs. I love the new stoppage time rules. With all the stoppage time we're getting, it allowed for the magical moment that happened in the Spurs-Sheffield United game, where Charleston scores in the 98th, or 90 plus 8. And then in the 11th minute of stoppage time, Kulusevski, Dejan gets the goal. This was a wild game. Besides the ending, which was absolutely bananas, there was 11 yellow cards handed out in this game. 11. You would have thought this was a rival, like a prime rivalry between Spurs and Sheffield, the way this game fell out. I mean, just complete chaos. It had a little bit of a CONCACAF feel to it, which honestly brought, once again, a tear to my eye. Okay, it made me gleam with happiness seeing the chaos unfold in this game. But yes, 11 yellow cards. Spurs from the depths of the pits of darkness find a way to grab a victory in the closing moments of this game. And yes, that concludes episode 163 of the A15 Exchange. I hope you guys enjoyed. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a good weekend. I did too. And I hope you have a good week coming this week as we get closer and closer to October and spooky season. But yes, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Ocho signing off.